What's up, guys? I'm BTC. Every season of the competitive ladder has gotten worse and worse when it comes to toxic players, throwers, and leavers. So that makes me ask the question, is it time to bring back the Avoid Player option? So the first thing that I want to bring up is the fact that Fui500, he's a top 500 Torbjorn main, he got banned for the 4th time the other day. Now, you might remember he was unfairly banned a couple weeks ago because people just mass reported him because he was a one-trick Torb. Now, Blizzard ended up apologizing to him and they unbanned his account, and they basically gave him kind of like a fast-track pipeline to their customer service system, so when it happens again, he can get unbanned faster because they investigated it and they found that he wasn't toxic, he didn't throw any matches, he wasn't trolling, he wasn't doing any of the things that was bannable. The only thing he was doing is simply playing Torb, and Blizzard has reinforced the belief that you can play any character you want, no matter what, and not switching is not considered, being bad. Like, that is straight from the Blizzard devs. You cannot be banned for a one-trick. But since that first incident happened, he has been banned not once, not twice, but 3 more times. So this is a total of 4 bans he has gotten. And all of it is because he is a one-trick Torb. Now, again, every single ban that he's had has been reversed, and it just causes a problem for him. It causes a problem for Blizzard customer service, because obviously they have to deal with it. But the other issue is that when he gets these bans, I believe at least 2 of them were in the middle of a game, which means everybody on his team was also effectively punished because they were down a man, so it was 5 versus 6, so they pretty much get a guaranteed loss in that case. Now, it's very clear that there's a good amount of players who are simply getting fed up and tired of dealing with one-trick players. They don't want to have to constantly build around one person who refuses to change, to accommodate that one person and then build a team comp that will be viable. Now, this isn't entirely a huge issue for a lot of the middle and lower brackets, but for Master and above, having a good team comp is very important. And when you have one person refusing to switch, it forces the rest of the team to really build around that person. And like I said, people are just getting fed up with it. So let me present for you both sides of this argument. So the one side for one-tricks is that they bought the game, they can play whatever character they want to play regardless, right? Okay, fine. Now, the other side is, well, I bought the game too, I'm playing the competitive ladder because I want to actively win matches, and I don't want to have to deal with people that are refusing to be cooperative. So why not let the players decide who they get to play with? So there is a player-controlled solution to this problem, and as a bonus, it will also help deal with toxic players, throwers, and leavers as well. But before I can go into all of that, I gotta give you guys a little bit of backstory. For those of you that haven't been playing Overwatch since the very beginning, there used to be an extra function that you had in order to deal with disruptive players. So you have the standard mute, block, and you can even report them, but there used to also be something called the Avoid Player option. And it did exactly what it sounds like it would do. You could use it so that that certain player who you found to be disruptive, or who was just toxic, or who was throwing, or whatever, then you could avoid them, and then they would never be in your games. Now, this did cause some problems, though, because what ended up happening is people abused it, and they would use it against other players who were just incredibly good. So that way, they would never have to play against those really good players on the other team. Now, this led to certain people having very, very long wait times. Now, this was before the competitive ladder was ever added, or at least the version that we have now. So it was pretty much only quick play at that time. And the way the quick play matchmaker works is the longer you have to wait for a game, the more spread out the skill rating can be among the players. Now, in quick play, obviously there's no ranking, but there is a hidden MMR. So at the time, that was really all they had to go on. So you had these players with really, really high hidden MMRs, and they were getting put on these avoid lists, so they would have to wait long periods of time in order to queue for a match. So it would be 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes while they're waiting for a game. And the thing is the longer they have to wait, the more spread out that skill rating would go. So rather than getting people of equal skill, because everybody kept avoiding them, what they would end up going against was people who were way below their skill level, and then it was just even worse. Basically, imagine a top 500 player who has to wait 15 or 20 minutes in order to get into a match, and as soon as he gets into the match, he's playing against all bronze and silver. That's essentially what was happening with the quick play and the hidden MMR back then when they had the avoid player. So because of that, Blizzard got rid of the avoid function. But that means that ever since then, we've had to deal with every single disruptive or toxic player. And I can't tell you how frustrating it is, and I'm sure many of you have gone through this exact same thing. You have someone on your team who is actively throwing or just, being a super pain, and then you block him and you report him, and then you wait a couple minutes and you queue up, and what happens? He's on your team again. I mean, I've had situations where I will block someone, report them, and then I will walk away from the computer for like 10 minutes, come back, queue up, and then still somehow get that person on my team again. It's almost as if blocking and reporting someone has the same result as the prefer this player function. Like, why is that person getting put on my team again? So really, I think we need to bring back the avoid player function. I know that Blizzard is rolling out some of the new report stuff, but the fact of the matter is, that system that they have in place right now works way too slow, and it's just not gonna fix the problem. I think if the players had a mechanism to kind of deal with the throwers, the leavers, and the toxic players, then the community as a whole, the player base as a whole, would get a lot better. Because what would end up happening is when players have to start waiting 10, 15, or 20 minutes before they can actually find a match, then something is going to dawn on them and say, hey, you know what? If it's taking this long, then a lot of people must be avoiding me. And people are not going to want to wait that long. So one of two things are going to happen. Either the bad apples are going to stop playing the game, or they're going to stop being bad apples. And either way, it's kind of win-win for the rest of the player base. But the question is, if you bring back the avoid player system, isn't it going to have the same problems as last time? And the answer is no. All you have to do is modify it a little bit. Make it so that, one, you don't avoid a player permanently. It only lasts for like, let's say, a week or two. That way, in case players start to change their ways and they start to, be better parts of the community and such, then they don't have to keep getting those increased wait times. Like, when they learn their lesson, put them back in the general pop of the player base. And the other thing is you would make it so that when you avoid a player, it simply makes it so that they cannot be on your team. They can only be on the enemy team. That way, there's no way you can use it to kind of abuse the system and make it so that you can't play against good players. Now, I suppose you could try to use the avoid player on others that you think are bad, so that way you could abuse it that way and make it so that what you think is bad is always going to be on the enemy team. But the thing is, if they actually are bad, then they're going to go down in rank and you're going to go up in rank, so you're not going to go against them anyways. And if they're not bad and they stay at your rank, then they might be beating you in the next match. So, I mean, you could do it, but it's really not going to be effective. But now going back to the one-trick problem, you have people like Fui500 who I'm sure doesn't like being in games where people are just constantly harassing him about playing Torb. And he doesn't like being reported constantly and having his account banned. So I think he would much rather play with players that actually want him in the game and want him on their team. Now, for those that don't want to deal with one-tricks anymore, they can simply avoid the one-tricks that they don't want to play with. Now, it doesn't mean that they won't get into a game with them, because that means that one-trick Torb or the one-trick Symmetra might be on the enemy team, and then it might be a little awkward if they end up losing. But hey, at least they weren't on your team, right? I mean, that's kind of the deal that they're going for. You don't want to have to make your team accommodate to them. So the thing is, you want these players to be able to play what they want, but at the same time, if the other players don't want to have to deal with it, then they really shouldn't have to. So I think the end result, if it's done right, is that you're going to have toxic players, throwers, leavers, that sort of stuff. They're going to find themselves with longer and longer queue times as more and more players start avoiding them. And as far as the one tricks go, I think overall, I mean, it's not going to completely eliminate it, but I think overall the experience is going to be a lot better because they're going to end up playing with people who actually want them on their team or who don't mind them being on their team. And the people that are adamantly against having the one tricks aren't really going to have to be frustrated that they're going to have to constantly accommodate someone that is playing something that, might not be working at the time. Overall, I think the net result would be definitely an improvement. But what do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comments. Also, don't forget to check out my Discord server. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. The links for that stuff is down below. Thanks for watching. Remember, always blame the controller because it's never your fault.
Also, special thanks to all my Patreon supporters for helping to make this all possible. If you'd like to see what kind of cool rewards you can get for supporting the channel, check the links on screen and down below.